right. Hello, everyone. We are live. My name is Jason. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Embr Labs. And today, it's a really important day for us. We will be doing a live hands-on demo of what we call the Onchain Listing dashboard and API. I have with me Dan, which is heading our communities from an engagement perspective. And we also have Ben, which is in charge of growth and business development for multiple of our products. So you guys can do a little intro.
Nice. Sorry, I was just
Or
posting the link.
that's okay. So we're live on multiple platforms.
Mhm.
I see people coming in. Let me just double check. I think we should be live on X as well. Yeah, so good
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
Everything's going really good. Cool. We'll let people start coming in. But I wanted to start with kind of a throwback, kind of going back to why we decided to build this product. And so it all started obviously in 2021 when we launched the Ember token. And at the time, obviously, we were, as you all know, we were kind of at the height of the last cycle, and ultimately, a lot of projects were launching on BNB chain. At the time, I think it hadn't even changed name. I think it was still BSC. And the whole kind of situation, at least in our case, I mean, if you're on other chains or whatever, in our case, and it's obviously a shared feeling with hundreds, if not thousands, of other projects, that enabling payment with fiat is a critical element in making the asset that you're bringing to market available for purchase. And we can obviously share our experiences in the last cycle of let's say we're interested in acquiring and getting this token. The journey is really complicated because everything that's on chain, it's a lot of steps. And I feel that, when we were in 2021, initially we made it as accessible as possible to swap for it from the native, but ultimately we were offloading kind of the responsibility to the end user to basically make its way to that native token to then swap. But that wasn't good enough. Obviously, I say this very often, but if you know a thing or two about business, your addressable market is as big as the people holding that asset. So if our addressable market is as big as people that are holding the BNB token, then it's quite small. But what if that addressable market could be the whole of fiat around the world? I mean, that's the value proposition of getting on an exchange or being listed or available on an on-ramp, because ultimately you go from like an addressable market that is as big as BNB to the whole world. And I don't have to tell you that it's a massive gain in terms of market reach. I don't know if you wanted to add anything during that period, because you guys were more on the front lines, but I remember, the length that we went to create these how-to pages. I mean, we
Oh
still
yeah.
see them roaming around, but like these how-to pages, like this is like literal knives in your eyes. It's like, holy moly.
blocks of text, that you have to like read an essay just to learn how to, access a decentralized exchange, let alone actually swap for one. You still see that even today on the unfortunate ones who have not experienced checkout at least.
I'll tell you my first experience. So when I went into crypto, I downloaded Coinbase, like the best one at that moment in time for newbies. And I brought some assets, and then my friend turned around and says, "You need to start buying some tokens." And I was like, "What are tokens?" And then you have to download Trust Wallet and go that thing. But the problem was, I needed to buy these tokens on BSC, but Coinbase didn't have BSC. They don't do it on there. So for a newbie, I had XRP, I had Bitcoin, I had Ethereum, but I didn't even know what BNB was. And then I'm like, how do I get my stuff from there when I'm not even on BNB over to there? And it was literally like 5 hours of YouTubing how to do it, holding, making mistakes. Yeah, it was a nightmare.
Yeah, but I think it's a good kind of throwback to how hard it was, and it still is today. So ultimately, back then, and we go back to like 2021, my goal, at least as a project leader, was to make Ember as easily purchasable and accessible as possible. So this is kind of when I started looking into, as a project, we started looking into various ramps to get Ember kind of quote unquote listed or supported by these ramps. And as you all know, I mean, if you've been around for a while, these early conversations were with Wire. And back in the day, and I say back in the day as if it was like fucking 20 years ago,
Feels longer.
but it feels like that. It feels like many, many lives ago, considering everything that happened, most specifically with Wire as well. But back then, the proposition was as such, if you approached a ramp and you wanted to get your token uh, supported by that ramp, it wasn't as a straightforward proposition. I'm not going to dive into all of the kind of specifics of the project of the process, but what I can tell you is it wasn't ideal even back then. Even if I would have gotten the project and Ember as a supported asset, BNB chain was not a supported network for Wire. So, like, we couldn't get BNB to be, let alone Ember. So we couldn't even enable the one-click purchase to BNB to then be swapped to Ember. Um, so that created obviously a lot of friction because what that meant is that we were basically dependent on their progression and their roadmap and effectively their go-to market strategy. If BNB chain wasn't part of their priority, which I mean it was, but the reality is it took basically a whole year for BNB to be a supported network for Wire, and even then, at which point, when it did become kind of a possibility, now you forward to autumn, basically 2022, and the proposition is okay. You can come as a supported asset in Wire, but it's going to be a fully custodial experience. You have to spend X amount of money. People that buy the Ember, they'll have to have the Wire kind of wallet. So it's kind of like where's the winning proposition here for us? We're on chain first. All this to say, obviously, if we would have agreed to it, we would have been locked in. And when you're locked in, you're basically, you become slave to the fate of the locked in partner. And well, I mean, I don't have to go back into history, but Wire isn't there today anymore. And obviously, all of that effort wouldn't be there anymore. So, fast forward to, after all of that pain, kind of the genesis of what we're going to be introducing today is this idea that what if, ramps could effectively support on-chain asset versus, assets that are coming from centralized providers? Because maybe maybe you didn't know, but most of what you see when you go on an on-ramp, the assets that are part of the drop down in there, they're effectively coming from various suppliers, whether they're a private market maker, an OTC, a centralized exchange. And you don't know, but like this first asset could be coming from one, this other asset could be from the other. But ultimately, it's really a supplier and merchant kind of relationship where like they buy it from someone that buys them in bigger bulk, and then they resell them to basically the market, and they try to get the best price as the demand goes up, the fees go down, and all of those things. But ultimately, this kind of dance has been quite stagnant for a very long time, because the proposition for a project like us or for another one effectively kind of relies on or depends on these liquidity providers for ramp to support your asset. So if I reach out to me as a project leader and I connect with this ramp and I'm like, hey, I'd like you to support my asset, and be like, perfect, we'll refer you to our kind of supplier of tokens, and you'll have to see if you can get listed with them. So as we've seen, not a lot do it. Not a lot of projects do it because it means you have to split your liquidity, you have to pay enormous amounts of fees, it takes time. You're locked in, you have to play the markets game. So it's all of those things together where, if your goal is to be fully on a centralized exchange and you're not playing you're not planning to be on chain, then that's fine. But if you're on chain first, that means that you have to basically do something that it's not necessarily your initial plan. And we feel that there is this thing that could unlock really a massive shift in the space, which is to enable ramps to effectively list and support on-chain directly. And I'm going to quote, obviously, Brian Armstrong at Coinbase, but we also believe, and we believe this for a while, is, on-chain is the new online. And this migration is happening. You're going to have, instead of having your, online account, you're going to have your on-chain account, and that will effectively be your PayPal, and you're going to be trading on-chain versus trading, on those centralized exchange. But I'm going to share. Obviously, I'm sharing this experience. You guys lived it with me at the same time, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts around kind of the shared frustration of trying to go to market with something we're super excited about, and that we feel kind of the Embr token, we wanted to make it as easily accessible as possible. And then we're kind of tied, up. And I'm sure you've heard dozens of experiences from other token projects that were kind of in similar situation, or like, which game do I play? Do I play the necessary evil game where like I have to do this against my will pretty much because there's no other choice and it's kind of a live or die kind of thing? Or what's the alternate option? Send people to decentralized exchanges? Like, really? Is that an option?
Yeah, I'm going to go from a ramp point of view as well. As much as everyone watching this has started somewhere and struggled to buy a token, if it's via a ramp and done that, or if it's gone through an exchange, then send money across to a wallet and going through all those hoops and loops. But even just going from a ramp perspective, when we went to them for the very first time and spoke to them about a proposition where you can go from one to the other, literally they all just looked at us like at the beginning, like it can't be done. Like we know our space. We know we've been in this space long enough. If this could be done, we would have done it. And then we obviously showed them how we do it. And it's like that jaw-dropping moment. And it's like, wow. And their response is, if you unlock this, the market is yours. And that was a powerful, and then we kept saying in house, didn't we? We're either crazy or this is genius. It's one of the two. Are we crazy? But this is so obvious. No, why has no one done this? And the great quote, if it was that easy, everyone would do it. It's not that easy. What we have done is remarkable work, but at the same time, we've unlocked a world of opportunity. And everyone in this, watching this and beyond this, will thank us later down the line for what is about to be unlocked.
Yeah, I think you've and we often forget to kind of paint the picture for ramps because I've said this in an AMA before with the community, but imagine having a store where at the end of the day, the products that you can put on the shelf, you can't decide, but and it's from this one supplier or two supplier, and the range of products you can buy from them or you can get is very limited. And yeah, I mean, people do buy those things, but every single day, people knock on your store, they get into your store and they're like, "Hey, I'd like to buy that thing." And you're like, "Man, this seems to be like a really legit thing, People want to buy that thing." And then you turn around and you ask your suppliers, like, "Can I get this?" And you're like, "No, you can't." I'm like, "I'm missing out here." I'm freaking missing
Massively.
out. Like there's like all this world of opportunity here. And effectively what the best I can do is sell them an ingredient of the thing that they want to make the cake out of. It's like I can sell you butter, but you're gonna have to figure out the rest somewhere else because I can't sell you like anything else. Can't sell you the vanilla essence. I can't sell you like the flour. Like, but people need flour. They need vanilla essence. They need chocolate. But I only have butter. So like I'm missing out here. People want to build cakes. They want to cook cakes. So it's really frustrating. At least, I mean, if I'd be a ramp, I'd be mad furious. I'd be mad furious. And what you're starting to see, and that's what basically has created this market in which we are, which ultimately, there's a lot of initiatives where you can go directly on chain, like through wallets and, et cetera. But the true experience is, how can you reproduce kind of the real checkout experience like on your on your website or through ramps or through third parties like marketplaces or neobanks or all of those things where you can go and support basically any asset that goes through our clearing protocol and gets whitelisted as an available asset within the protocol. And more on this later, but once we enable these thousands of crypto assets that can be used, then it changes the game because what happens is now people are able to fulfill end intent kind of purchase. And what that means is like there's no need to go through kind of these suppliers and these vendors to buy gas, to then do something on chain and then fulfill kind of your end intent purchase. Now you can just go and effectively through one of the partners that are leveraging this on-chain listing kind of API, and they can enable any project in real time on demand. It's self-serve, it's permissionless, because at the end of the day, if they see this project really hitting off on a specific chain and they want to, like in any other business that exists in the world, if I have a store on Amazon and I see this new product that my competitor is selling or that no one is selling, but it's in high demand, what do you need to do? You need to adjust. You need to be nimble. You need to list that. You need to support that. You need to offer it to the people that want it. So within a couple minutes, they can go from discovery to listing that asset, putting together marketing material, throwing it out there in the ether, and then converting people that want it right now. Like, it's not like this thing where I have to, reach out to the project. I mean, if the project is on chain, it means it's permissionless. Like, they've set up a liquidity pool, it's automated market making, and you can tap into that. And that's the power of DeFi. So without further ado, we're going to do a small demo of this partner dashboard, which there's a few things in it that I want to run you guys through, but also keep this in the back of your mind. This is the MVP. It will be going into production. Basically, it's pretty much ready. We have a bunch of ramps that will be taking this into production as well. We're just going through the final kind of testing. And so there's a bunch of things coming after, but see this as kind of the first iteration of something that will be truly amazing in the next couple of months. We have so much ideas for it to make discovery much easier, to have more insights around the transactions themselves, to get some aggregated intelligence around kind of what is being purchased right now and what is in high demand, in the sense of, hey, you know what? Let's enable this, because it seems that collectively, from all the people that are leveraging this on-chain listing kind of API, that these assets are being purchased right now. They are being purchased. It's for real. So why am I missing out on the fun? So let's jump on and surf that wave as well. So let's do it. You guys ready?
Always ready.
Cool. All right.
Close of minds.
So
I've been playing with it the last 3 days. I'm really ready to show this off.
All right. So I'm not going to show you the whole login experience, because I don't think that matters so much. So essentially, this is the first screen that our partner ramps will see. Very high level. They can generate a quick link to generate the API keys. These are all the API reference doc for leveraging, like how and what are the endpoints and all of those things. You can jump on the Discord. You can manage your crypto assets here. Some quick links here as well. And for the purpose of this demo, because initially it was really hard to paint the picture of what's the actual kind of gain here. Like, it's really hard to see in real time what does that mean for a ramp, and how can it actually be used. So what we decided to do, and this is obviously the funny part, a lot of our community members will see the pun here, but so we created a quote unquote a mock ramp company, and that mock ramp company is called SoonPay. So this is your doorway to Web3, and this is hypothetically if this would be kind of where the end user would interact, and this is where they would go and buy their assets. But more on this in a few minutes. So part of the demo is, obviously, I would be a person that works at SoonPay, and I would log in. So that would be my team. I'm the owner of that team. I could create a new team. I can invite new people, admins, team members, and ultimately there's various different settings. And yes, if you want, if you're blown away by the light, you can go dark. So everything's there. There's the settings here, your profile. On the left, this is where kind of you get the various areas that are relevant for this specific use case. So there's wallets here. Now, what is a wallet? So for a ramp, and the way it works is, some reason it's not loading. I think it logged me out because I wasn't doing anything for a while, so for security purposes, it logged me out. Let me just log back in. Okay, here we are. We are back online. So this is behind the scenes, when a RAM creates an account through their dashboard, we create a MPC wallet, which is considered as a float. This is part of the Circle developer-controlled wallets, and we create it on Polygon. Right now, it's everything that I'm going to do is on testnet, so don't worry, this is not real money. We actually can create as much money as we want, but then again, you can't go out there and do anything with it. So these are floats that whenever they send an order request to us, we double check if they have sufficient amount of money in that float so that whatever we execute on chain, let's say someone wants to buy Embr, and we go through kind of our on-chain vault on BNB chain, we will then withdraw $1,000 from that on-chain vault to swap for Embr so that we can have an output token sent to the buyer, which is going to be Embr, but to, compensate for the credit that we did on chain, we're going to do a debit from this float. So they have to top it up, but right now they can test and they can basically mint from the Circle faucet. They can mint as many USDC as they want. As you can see, we just topped it up another $1,000, and then they can do test transaction on testnet, various different scenarios. This is where they send that USDC on mainnet. So this is it's a real simple setup. And because it's developer controlled, it means that we can initiate transactions that we've been authorized to do. Even though it's non-custodial, it's not the same type of non-custodial wallet that you see that are called embedded wallets, things like Privy or Magic, or, there's plenty out there. These are for end user buyers or kind of scenarios. This is for a development environment. Next up, which is basically your discovery hub. Now, this is obviously very kind of minimal right now in terms of discovery engine. This is where we will be spending the most amount of time going forward. Because it's very static. It's for kind of the use case where you know exactly which asset you want to enable. But if you don't know which one you want to enable, then it becomes kind of this whole discovery experience that we haven't really built so much. I mean, there are filters, but the filters, there's a lot of more work to be done in that respect, because we're creating absolutely new use cases and new user experience for these third parties such as ramps to support on-chain asset. So there's chains, there's the name of the token, logo, there's kind of where they're at right now, the kind of buys for the day. There's like socials, website, and the most important part, I mean, if you want to search, you just search it. We've already, it's limited to Polygon, so we can search Embr, and it's already been enabled. But as you can see, I can track when it was disabled, when it was enabled, and that obviously affects exactly kind of where the amount that I now support that are coming directly from on-chain. And hypothetically, let's say if our clearing system hasn't found one token specifically that you're interested in, like a project reached out to you, you're like, hey, you know what? There's this new asset that's called game whatever, and it's not there, then you can request it. So you select the chain. If it's a BSC token, you paste the contract address, and basically you'll get the request that it's pushed through the clearing protocol to see if it can be whitelisted, so the risk assessment and all those sorts of things happen in real time. And then if it passes it, then it becomes an available asset that you can list straight up. So it's very, very powerful, very fast. Now let's get to kind of what does it mean to enable an asset from an end user perspective. So let's say hypothetically we want to enable this token, or let's say this one here, Good Games Guild. It's on BNB chain. And let's look at SoonPay now. Right now, there's only Embr that's listed. That's a hypothetical, of course, but the whole point here is let's enable the Genesis world on ETH. Let's enable them. It's obviously done in real time. It appears. Let me share instead kind of my whole screen so you can see this happening kind of in real time. So I'm not faking it. Window. Let me share this screen here. So let's just go and add. And I'm going to have to do this quick. So did I enable it? No, it was too quick. There you go. So technically, what happens, as I just showed, is let's say this is a real ramp, and they would enable this new token here, or whichever one, this one here, DFX. They can go, like I said, from discovery to listing to then go and market it and then process payments directly in real time. So, yeah, this is, I mean, and also let's rewind a little bit here and let's think about what this actually kind of means in the context of the actual normal process and the costs involved and the time involved and all of those things. Whereas right now, like if I would approach a ramp that has this, they could say, yeah, sure, you know, well, I'll just enable you and we start advertising it tomorrow or today. And so the time to market is always very, very important. And that reduces it by 1,000x, time to market, cost to market, infrastructure cost for a ramp. Like, imagine a world where you now basically can have like this list here of a ramp. Imagine a new ramp that says, you know what, I'm just going to go on chain all in. And I'm not going to source any assets from a centralized exchange. I am just going to do, you know what? I can have access to thousands of assets here, and I'm all in like GameFi token. Well, you know what? I'm just gonna sell game tokens. You know, I'm gonna sell that one, I'm gonna sell that one, I'm gonna sell that one, that one. And I'm now basically populating or creating this new ramp that effectively I sell just what I want and what I need and what represents me. No gas involved. People buy exactly what they want in real time because I'm going to show you now like a transaction of how much time it takes once basically they've passed KYC on the ramp side and you know their payment method is in there and they press buy. So I'll just show you, we created kind of a mock environment where basically a transaction is kind of happening. So let's say I'm buying 100 in that UI. I would be buying 100 of Embr, create the order, go in transaction, and it's processing. that's basically the time it took for the asset to land in the user's wallet. I don't know if you guys calculated it, but it was pretty fast. You can see on testnet, this is a very clean transaction. There's not like 1,000 swaps happening here. There's not like that synthetic to that other synthetic to that other router to that other thing. I mean, if you look at this often, you'll probably find that most of the time it's pretty messy and dirty. But this is really clean, and it's pretty straightforward. And it took basically a second and a half. So you're going from essentially multiple minutes to like a couple seconds. So I've been occupying kind of the microphone for a while, but I'm curious for you guys to share kind of your thoughts, Dan and Ben, around. I mean, you've seen this behind the scene for many months now, and us working on it. And we've, in the past couple of weeks, obviously been working more hands-on with the ramps, and they've seen this and they're playing with it. Like, I mean, maybe we can jump on Ben because he's the one more like working with me on this. But yeah, there are your thoughts.
Yeah, it's the main thing is with the ramps is the amount of time it takes for projects to get an asset on there. We've been told it takes anything up to 60 days on average to get a token listed onto a ramp. 60 days is a long time. And then the next thing is money, how much it physically costs. This is not cheap. This is not $1,000 to $5,000. This is crazy money. We were asking some ramps, and they were like 50 plus thousand just to get a token listed onto their platform. And now it's just a swipe, no paperwork, no admin, no 2 months. They can just wait 1 second. It's done. And the reason why they've taken so long is because of market makers and people adding liquidity. And now we do everything for them our end. And it's just like that, the game changer when we tell them how we do it, why we're doing it. It's the same thing. They just leave like, this is great. And the other thing as well that they talk about is they don't have to buy multiple mass of liquidity, because we also provide that as well. Again, it's just everything we're doing to instant swipes, the LP stuff, everything into our stack, what we're providing the ramps, it's just a no-brainer to them. And they're just left bemused that we can do all this. So even I'm bemused, to tell you half the time.
Yeah, I think all of us remember the days where we had to go to a ramp just to get the gas and then figure out how on earth you buy the actual token you're trying to buy. Instead, the ramps themselves can be, the one-stop shop. You go to a ramp, you just, select the asset, it lands in your wallet in seconds. Easy peasy. Like, for those of us who've been around a few years, this change is nothing short of profound. And I think
The
this will
longest,
become the
the longest
standard.
time that the longest time I've actually gone through a ramp, it took just over a day. That's the longest time before it landed, the gas or the native coin landed in my wallet. And to tell you the
And you were not done
truth,
yet. You're
I
not
tell you,
done yet.
I was pissed. It was a good $300. It's a lot of money for me, and literally, you literally, you're in your brain, you've lost it. You've lost it. It's out of your bank
Full day of
account. It
anxiety.
says it's gone
Full
through.
day of anxiety.
Yeah, you just lost it. And I remember I went to football and I came back, checked my phone, it had landed. And you're like, yes. I just literally, in my brain, I've wiped it as it's gone. Another crypto scam or whatever it was, but it did land. But it took a day. And the worst thing was, I really wanted to get into a pre-sale the day before. And I missed out on the pre-sale. And it did do very well, that token. And I missed out because of the ramp.
We've all had kind of these situations. That's why I mean, like, time to market. Everything is time sensitive. And for, as you know, as a consumer, you want, like, if you see something happening and you need to take action on it right now, you need a path to it really fast. So that's kind of one of the ways that the ramps can be nimble, agile, and respond in real time to market demand and market trends. And ultimately, yes, there's a lot of considerations with regards to, oh, now you're opening up on chain, and what about, these ill intent like assets and everything. And we don't pretend to have kind of like the answer here, but as you know, if you've been part of our community for a while, you've heard us talk about the genesis of being able to kind of surface the ones that are, well intended, and they aspire to do well. And for them, it's like, how can I get out, or how can I distance myself from this noise? We hear constantly a lot of people say, "Oh, I've did this kind of KYC and I'm doxxed, and I'm out there. I'm putting my face out there, and I want people to consider me as a legit person. They need them to trust us." But it's very fragmented. There's no kind of real recognized kind of label. A lot of them comes from like security platforms and smart contract kind of audits and things like that. But ultimately, I think there's a place in the market if we are going to occupy kind of the surfacing from an assets perspective on chain. We're doing kind of this risk assessment as a 16-point kind of check. And that's really a binary kind of approach. It's like red light, green light. I mean, if you don't meet these criterias, you're just not going to be whitelisted as an available asset. It doesn't mean that, you're going to be a great project. It doesn't mean that, a bunch of things. It just means that you pass the minimal kind of criteria. It's like real basic, but it's removing the biggest red flags, let's say. But then if you want to take it a step further, and this is what I've been talking about, and our team has been talking about for at least 6 months, which is the Embr Verified. And the Embr Verified is something that you do willingly. And as a project leader, you get verified through one of our partners, and you do a KYB. And once you do that, plus the on-chain kind of risk assessment and that whitelists you into the protocol, then you can be Embr Verified. And that will basically push you ahead of the queue in terms of, if I'm a ramp, think about it. It's all about doing your own research. If you're, a potential buyer, you do your own research. But ramps do their own research as well. If now they can go from this fixed asset supply that is about 60, 70, or 100, they don't have to do much research. I mean, they don't do research, actually. They just don't do it. But now if you open up the world to them with thousands of different assets, you're kind of giving them a burden here. It's like, wow, this world of opportunity, but now I have to do my own research. Like, how am I going to find out if this project is legit, the risk, and all of those things? I mean, this is kind of totally new. So you want to remove as much as possible of that burden so that they don't have to think about it. They just go and, you know what? I'm just not going to take any chance. I'm just going to put a filter in my dashboard. Just give me the ones that are KYB and, Embr Verified. And if you do that, then you're just going to see those. And ultimately, what this is going to drive is this idea that there is kind of this willingness to go upstream, which is, hey, you know what? Us, when we launched as a project 2 years ago, what was the benchmark? Where was the blueprint? Where was that kind of bar that was being set for on-chain projects to be like, I want to be considered as legit. I aspired to be seen as serious, but I was being thrown, and everybody was being thrown in the same kind of crypto scam bucket. Right? I mean, we're basically swimming against the current all the time, whether it's media, whether it's this, whether it's that. The next scam that's happening, we need something that basically helps these entrepreneurs level up, but willingly. So by doing so, I think it's going to create this really important sense of trust. Not that it's not there, but it's not really easily recognizable. So we really want to create this Embr kind of verified namesake where, you know, it becomes something. So we're going to be investing a lot in that, like a lot, because we feel that this cycle, more than any, is going to be about trust. And if you don't have trust, then you don't have anything. You could be the biggest, most exciting project ever, but I mean, you need to gain trust. And if you don't have it, then you either kind of, you know, put this on the people to do their own research and all of those things. So if we could figure out a way together and collectively, because that trust thing, you know, that Embr verified, this is something, you know, Curtis, which is heading our, you know, compliance and governance and all of it, he's going to be introducing kind of this 16-point protocol that is going to be voted in, you know. So as we move forward and we create this new payment system, it's not going to be governed from the top. It's really going to be governed by the people that use it and the stakeholders that have the most to gain or the most to lose. And these thresholds and et cetera, they'll be voted on and can be, you know, adjusted if needed through time, because maybe at some point they'll be too restrictive or not restrictive enough, and we feel like there's some bad actors going through, and now we need to add these little things. And you know, these proposals are coming through, people vote with the Embr token, but yeah, this is a really exciting path on it. And you know, I'd love to maybe have, you know, Ben react to this, because I've been listening to a lot of some of the lounges, you know, that a lot of projects that are talking about kind of their challenges of being seen as legit, you know, and yeah, so I think it's a real serious challenge out there.
I think as well, we mentioned it last couple of weeks ago about one project. He's just going, basically spending all his money on exchanges just so he can get his name out there, but he's not actually building anything. He's just going on exchanges hoping for a price pump, and that's fine. That's what he wants to do. But you've got other projects who are really building incredible stuff. We have a magazine that we're quite close with. They're building incredible stuff, doing lots of amazing things. I've got projects all in my DMs and they're doing amazing stuff, but all the crap is doing well, and they're sitting there for 2 years, 3 years. They survived the bear market, but they need to keep moving their market cap, their token price, but yet everyone's buying all the crap, and the solid stuff is just not taking that seriously. And they always come to me all the time, you know, when's checkout, because we want something where they can gain from, they can actually be above the rest. And when they get a fiat to token in real time, they will be pushed up above all the crap, because we're not taking the crap. So when people turn up to a project and they see Embr verified, they see a checkout, and it won't be when they first get it, it won't be when CoinMarketCap, it will be when Embr checkout. That will be the new 2025 slogan. Because once you get a checkout and you get verified, it just shows everyone in the market you are a solid project. You've got a good team behind you. You've got good ideas. Things are going through, and you've got a good contract. But more importantly, if you've got a token to your right that you have to go through all the hoops and loops to get to, or you've got one in front of you that you can just buy like that, your mum can buy like that, your brother can buy like that with zero experience in crypto, the more people will go to that platform than going through the hoops and loops to get the crap. And there is potential of rug pulling, honeypots, this stuff. Look, there are always going to be people buying that. There's always going to be people taking risks, high risk, high rewards. It's one of those, but you're going to lose more than you're going to win. If you're going to stick to quality products, over time, quality utility, over time, it always comes out on top.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Dan, do you want to take us to maybe a few comments or a few questions? We can wrap up maybe kind of the last 10, 15 minutes, give some love to the audience, maybe share some feedback of what people are thinking. I mean, we've been keeping this a secret, not a secret per se that we're working on it, but like the looks and feel, the speed, the dynamics of it, the UI. Um,
Yeah. Well, for starters, thank you for all the love in the comments. Yeah, going back, the first real question, like kind of sort of pseudo question I see here, from if I was a game developer, could I direct people to buy through us to get a Steam key? Kind of like Steam is like a platform to buy video games. Theoretically, I mean, the API could be like a step in that kind of flow in a game.
well, Well, right now it's not the case because
Yeah,
this kind of on-chain listing product is built specifically for tokens themselves.
yeah,
So at some point we will release something that is more akin to e-commerce, which is not the case today. But at some point, yes, you will be able to use our API, not an end user, but like a developer. They could create a form of gateway where crypto is used in the form of payment to settle with Steam. But Steam would need to, integrate with this as well, to
Yeah.
or the gateway that Steam is using would need to integrate with us. So it's a long kind of road. It's not going to be achieved, overnight. But at some point, on chain is going to be like online. It took like a decade to get to like a decent amount of recognition and for it to be kind of pretty kind of normal to say online. But the fundamentals pre-online and saying online, what do you mean online? What is a line and why are you on the line? And it's really weird, to say that. Today it is weird to say that a lot of people will go on chain and payments will be done on chain. They're not going to be done online. They're going to be done on chain. So the migration will take a lot of time, many years, but at some point, yes, most definitely, that's the whole idea of this new payment system that runs on decentralized components.
yeah. The possibilities are truly mind bending. When you think about it, obviously this is a very pointed product, but down the road there are all sorts of possibilities. Next question, from our Phil Patton. When is this going to go live with ramps?
So we feel quite confident that in the next month ish, we're going to start seeing some stuff coming out. It's really not about us. That's the thing. So it's getting scheduled in their sprints, their engineering kind of bandwidth. They're excited. They want to do it. They tested it. But now it's like, okay, let's take this to production. What does it mean internally? It means we need to coordinate with maybe a product release, a product launch, some coordination between various departments. So we're not really we're kind of slaves to that, per se. We're not deciding that part. But the excitement is high, and it's just going to be a continuous kind of release with various ramps. And yeah, but it's definitely coming. And as this is kind of being pushed forward in terms of, okay, now this product is ready, we're going to market with this. Now we can start looking at other stuff because that is a fully fledged product. We can ship it. Now, what's next? Obviously, we're not talking about those things today, but that means that it releases engineering kind of bandwidth on our end that we can start thinking about these other milestones that we've been eyeing and that we're super excited about.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice. So I'm going to move on to the next question here. From Paul. What if a ramp wants to list a different set of tokens for different customers of theirs? For example, they may only want to list 3 tokens for one of their customers versus 5 for another.
Well, I guess they could create different environments, so they could create different teams. But from my understanding, at least this is not a requirement for now. I mean, when they ship a ramp, they ship a ramp. The ramp comes with it comes with these assets, and this is why when you look at a MoonPay ramp on one site or another or another or another, it's all the same thing. And but yeah, this is a really interesting consideration. Potentially, a ramp could say, "Hey, you know what? We'll give you the options when you want to deploy this ramp on your website. You can put what you want in it."
That'd be pretty sweet.
Kind
Yeah.
of the second tier from the
Uh,
first tier, which is the first customer is the ramp. But now, what if we could enable the ramp to effectively sub kind of give this option to their audience?
man. Yeah. Again, the possibilities are endless. That's the beauty of the API. And moving on to the next question. What fees will Ember be charging for this sort of transaction?
So this is not 100% certain, but we're kind of hovering between zero point 0.5 and 1%, but it's leaning more towards the zero point 0.5 because this is API first. Now, when we have interfaces that are involved, meaning that these are pre-built products that, let's say, a project uses or whatever, then we will have 2 sets of fees. One will be the interface fee, and the other one will be the protocol fee. But so far, if it's API first, there's no interface fee because they build the interface, they spend the man hours and the resources and the money to build the interface, so they get kind of that bandwidth to charge their fee. Um, so that's kind of the answer here. But our products will have interface fees and protocol fees.
Perfect. And kind of a second part to that question. What would the revenue share look like for token holders? Perhaps this is a chance for us to just kind of, you know, answer that
Well,
question.
again, reiterating that we're not coming forward with an answer with
Yeah.
this. So
hmm Yeah. So there's so many different variables, and it's way too early just to give any kind of information about that at this time. Now moving on, what ramps will be integrated into checkout? And will projects be able to select which on-ramps they offer with their checkout?
yeah, so I mean, we're not looking at building like an on-ramper, which is kind of on-ramping orchestration. This is not our thing. We're looking for one specific partner that is all in and wants to integrate with us and effectively be the ramp for our products. So we're in discussion with a bunch of them. So far, the partner is, in our current product, it's Unlimit. And yeah, so for us, we're looking for the most seamless on brand experience for our customer. So the least amount of different UX, the least amount of pop ups, the least amount of different flows is what we're aiming for. So, yeah.
Perfect. And from Rob, good to see you, man. When let's see. I suppose it's supposed to be when will we see a marketing push so we can get this into the hands of many, many projects and get some buzz going, considering this is all quite exciting.
Yeah, so you're going to start seeing it in the next couple of days. So there is definitely um, more resources that are going to be put at conveying this message, and lots of really exciting stuff coming. Don't expect the billboard. Don't expect like the KuCoin ad. It's not going to happen. Uh, so like this is like real business.
Mhm.
Um, so that's it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Let's just say the gears are moving on that front. Um, yeah. Let's see. Any ramp in Australia, New Zealand, or Vanuatu? Pardon me if I mispronounced that. Uh,
Vanuatu.
yeah.
Well, not a, I can't say if there is or there isn't, but what I can say, and potentially we can wrap up with maybe one more question. But I mean, maybe I'll let Ben answer that question because he's the one, firing everywhere. But ultimately, the goal is to like reach every single market. That is it. Nothing less.
It is a hard one because we have a crypto market, we have an e-commerce market, we have the list just goes on and on and on. We've got ramp markets as well. Then you've got NFT market. It's how long's a piece of string? At the beginning, of course, we're just going to go down the crypto routes, crypto projects, RAMs, that stuff, and then and when we're ready for e-commerce, that's my exciting one, and using crypto in the real world.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But it's really like a markets game. Right now, it's going to be like, okay, so we have this geography that is unserved through our APIs and our products, and we're just going to reach out to them, or maybe they'll reach out to us. So yeah.
And moving on to the next question, we only have one more question to answer. However, I think this is a fitting one to end it on. There's kind of a couple on the same topic, so I'll just choose the top one. What is the Embr token utility that will drive the price up until revenue share is clarified? As in, what is the purpose of holding the Embr token?
Well, I mean, I can reiterate it, but at the end of the day, there are three big families of like what's in it for the people that would hold it. Of course, there's one which is um, the current one that's been around for a while, which is people consider there's an upside in terms of potential financial gain. That's not necessarily kind of our goal, but that's how crypto kind of works, with demand and all of those things. So there's obviously this use case, but we're working like nonstop on sustainable use case, not kind of speculative use cases. And on the sustainable side, there's kind of two big family. There's governance and utility. And with regards to governance, think about like the payment system, but upside down, the current one, which currently is essentially governed from the top, meaning that it's like central banks and various different organizations that are the one that have their thumb on the buttons. They decide who can be part of it, what are the various different kind of policies, etc. So yes, if you're in the business of launching a payment system, that comes with it. That comes with lobbying policies and making the space advance. You see Coinbase every single day in Washington, D.C., lobbying, being present, because they're looking at advancing the space as much as they can. And we have the same kind of aspiration, but around payments. So you guys and the community and the people that hold Embr will effectively be the ones deciding. So I think this is really, really exciting. And that will drive through various different stakeholders the demand to be part of that. So that's one part. And the other part, the list goes on really, really wide and deep, which is utility. Now, with regards to utility, there is a lot that we're obviously sketching, designing, and looking to bring to market. But I see this as a form of membership. Being part of the Embr payment system is akin to like a community somewhere else, in the sense that you have to be a member of it to get advantages. And these advantages will be translated and expressed in like a lot of different ways. So there's going to be kind of this, kind of pull for and want to get that token because they want to have access to potentially various tiers of different products, discounts. Imagine, again, we have this question and we don't have the answer. At least we're not ready to share whatever answer we have with regards to this because it's always changing. But imagine if there is this new payment system that is running everywhere, and that people are interacting with. Let's say you're like seeing Embr checkout, everywhere, and there's transactions happening on this. Then if you're a member of this community and you participate, and then maybe there's like this possibility of you getting a piece of that transaction. So that's just another part. But also when you interact with it, maybe if you have your membership because you hold Embr at various different tiers, well, maybe you get a discount because it's baked in the system. And there's just so many other things. But ultimately, at the end of the day, like there is so much work to do around utility to make sure that this token is in high demand for real upside utility. And that we couldn't be more excited about that part, but it needs to be done right. It needs to be thought through. We're not about like building kind of this like volatile kind of project and that might not be sustainable. Every single idea and design decision around these utility things, they need to be sustainable. They need to be working with other parts. They need to drive each other and be complementary.
Do you guys think
I
we have
like
time for maybe one more question? Oh, unless
I would just like to add one more thing to that. You clearly picked it up there, but it's due to things like the checkout, the ramps, and so forth. Ember's name will also be out there everywhere. Potentially, it could be throughout the whole market space. And when you say why the token, why when marketing, if you're going to start seeing Embr absolutely everywhere, people are going to want to know what more about it. They want to understand it. They're going to start coming into our telegrams. It could be even a project turning around and saying, we want your checkout, and then realizing we have a token, and then that project might put some money in or so forth. Or they will want us to go over to their telegrams or Discord and do an AMA over there and talk about the payment gateway. And then while we're there, we can talk about the token opening to thousands or hundreds of thousands of people every single day through AMAs and so forth. So when it comes to when marketing, imagine a platform, imagine having a PayPal right now, having a token. Just the power of the word PayPal, that token would do very, very well. And that's the same sort of comparison I can tell you. They have a utility, they don't give revenue share, they don't have this, they don't have that. It's just the power of the name can do very well if you're very well known in the space. And throughout the next 12 months, 24 months, potentially we could take on this whole space. So that's another reason why to hold the token.
And also, if I may add, I think it's important to note as well, the token itself has utility and features designed for both individuals, as in like traders, and businesses, right? So governance affects both people who just are looking for a good trade, right? Then you also have businesses who want to have a say in the payment system that they're using. Then you have utility. Individuals could gain from these utilities, as Jason already kind of mentioned a couple of possibilities and spitballs there. That affects both individuals and businesses. The revenue share also affects both individual traders who are maybe looking for a little cherry on top of everything else, and businesses who also want a cut of perhaps the transactions that they're pushing through their system. Everything has a B2B to C kind of angle to it. And it's important to note that because it's not as simple as just creating a simple utility with one angle, with one audience that if you hit it, awesome. If you don't, you're screwed. That's not the case. There are so many different reasons to hold this token. Again, none of this should be interpreted as any kind of financial advice. We've just designed this token to have a significance to a variety of different psychologies, backgrounds, and potential, people who might be interested. It's not as simple as just one angle.
Cool. So I think we can wrap this up. Dan and Ben, thanks for joining me on this hands-on live demo of the on-chain listing dashboard and API. Thanks to everyone that tuned in. I hope you're excited. We're excited. We're going to push this out. And I'm just going to end on a comment that we had on YouTube, and I'm going to bring it up. So, Rob, you have the final word. It's game changing. And now let's get the word out. Thanks, everyone.
Till
Cheers,
next
guys.
time.
Have a great day.